Hello Summoners, welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Kangas, and today I'll be talking about the best ultimates in Wild Rift. You'll learn everything about these abilities, from why they're so strong to how to use them correctly. But before we get started, our question of the day is, what is your favorite ultimate to use? Even if it isn't on the list, one of my favorites is Vayne's. Shredding enemies and going invisible instantly just feels so good. Now, let's get into the video.
First off, we used a small set of criteria to help make our decision. The 10 ultimates that we've chosen score highly on the following things. Number 1, versatility. Ultimates are still abilities. This means that the more uses they have, the better. The best ultimates are either amazing at doing one specific thing, or they have multiple uses that change game by game. Some ults even have multiple impactful uses. Number 2, ease of use. It's really frustrating when you mess up an ability. It's even worse when that ability has a minute-long cooldown. Most champions can only use their ults a handful of times in any given game, so being able to reliably land your ult is crucial. And number 3, impact on the game. The best ultimates are able to swing the game in your favor. They're ultimate abilities for a reason. And I don't just mean doing damage or CCing your enemy. The ability to influence the map and champions is just as important as damage. Now that you know what we're looking at, let's start talking about the 10 strongest ultimates in the early stages of Wild Rift. As a disclaimer, we aren't ranking these champions in any specific order. The first ultimate we're talking about is Ashe's Enchanted Crystal Arrow. This is the first skill anyone thinks about when they hear Ashe. In Wild Rift, you can turn this ability slowly, making it so much easier to control and effectively land. This ultimate is super powerful in League of Legends too, but it is easily a top tier ult in Wild Rift. Enchanted Crystal Arrow's versatility comes from the ability to decide the direction of fights. The best way to use this ability is when you have some space between yourself and the enemy. If you stand behind your front line, landing your arrow is a really powerful way to engage fights from really far away. If you're getting ganked in a line, you can ult the front line and halt the engage. The ability is an engage tool and a disengage tool, effectively making it one of the strongest ultimates in the game. In League, this ult was a bit harder to land. There's a lot of time to react if you know it's coming, and landing across the map ults requires extreme precision and knowledge of the game. In Wild Rift, being able to control this arrow is a huge buff. It'll be way harder to miss once you've had a bit of practice. Global ultimates have massive impact on the game. Since you're controlling it, you can send your ult towards mid and look for a stun. If it misses, you can just redirect it top lane and aim for them instead. The next ultimate we're talking about is Camille's HEXTECH Ultimatum. As a fighter who loves to outplay her opponents, Camille's ultimate is perfect for making sure her enemy doesn't run away. Regarding versatility, Camille's ultimate has 2 things that make it one of the strongest ultimates that any fight could have. The first part is that it locks your target in an area while also pushing away other enemies. If you're getting ganked top, force a small 1v1 that could give you a major edge. HEXTECH Ultimatum also gives her a brief moment of invulnerability, allowing her to massively outplay her opponent. Imagine dodging Malphite's ult and making sure he can't retreat. Camille's ultimate has a massive skill ceiling, but you don't need to dodge really fast skill shots to be effective. If you can dodge any damage at all, your ability to nail down opponents and deal increased damage yourself is going to be really strong. Focus on dodging the slower moving skill shots first. Since she's primarily a split pusher, Camille's ult is amazing at maximizing what she does best. Winning your 1v1 duel is pivotal as a split pusher, and making that job easier means you're impacting the game in the best way possible. Our next ultimate is Soraka's Wish. This is easily one of the strongest skills in the entire game, instantly healing every single teammate. Timing this ultimate well can win a close fight anywhere on the map, especially early on. Soraka's ultimate may look one-dimensional, but the ability to bait your enemies gives you a lot of versatility. The easiest way to heal your team is when you see them on your screen, but if you pay attention to the map, you can totally save your top laner from being tower dove. The good thing about Soraka's ult is there is no skill shot attached. The only way you can mess this up is if you use it too late. Try your best to use it when your team is lower than 40 HP, giving you an extra boost in the healing power. If you're not super great at timing things, just use your ult earlier to make sure you get the heal off. Next up, Ahri's ultimate, Spirit Rush. It's an iconic part of her kit that has 3 charges, meaning you can use it both aggressively and defensively. Once you hit level 5, you essentially have 4 flashes in your arsenal. You shouldn't be afraid to mess around with your opponents. The best Ahri players will ult in and charm their opponents, then dash away to safety with relative ease. If you're really on the run, your ult also goes over walls, making it extremely difficult for your opponent to catch up. It's not very hard to use Ahri's ultimate, but the hard part comes when you're trying to maximize your effectiveness with each dash. Remember, you don't need to use all 3 charges at once. If you can, space them out and try to time your abilities with the charges. This is what makes Ahri so slippery and hard to pin down. The next ultimate we're going to talk about is Amumu's Curse of the Sad Mummy. Like Ashe, most players think of this massive AoE stun as Amumu's signature move. When talking about versatility, Amumu's ult is an amazing engage and disengage tool. Ideally, you'll want to go for as many targets as possible. However, if you're peeling your AD carry, your ult is also really good since you don't really need to aim it. Something cool you can do is land your bandage, then flash and ult into the entire enemy team. There's almost no time to react to this play, so use it when you can. Generally, ulting as many enemies as possible is the best way to play Amumu. If you keep this in mind, it's really easy to play and be impactful for your team. You'll also apply your passive, meaning magic damage teammates will deal a bunch of damage. Similar to Amumu, Malphite's unstoppable force is just as strong as Amumu's, making it an easy contender for the best engage ultimate in the entire game. The major difference between these two abilities is that Malphite isn't affected by tenacity. Amumu's stun can be mitigated, but a massive Malphite ult will always knock up enemies for the entire duration. With this massive strength, Malphite's ultimate is a bit harder to land on a lot of champions. The radius is much smaller, so you need to pick the targets that you're aiming for. Make sure to hit at least one important target rather than trying to hit them all. The next powerful ultimate we'll talk about is Miss Fortune's Bullet Time. It's the best ultimate for wombo combo team comps. When paired with somebody like Amumu or Malphite, you'll completely shred the enemy team with a single skill. The best part about MF's ult is that she can use it to stay at a safe range and still do massive damage. If your team doesn't have a way to lock down the enemy, you can ult to secure kills, or just ult to control an area. Plus, all you have to do is aim it. There's almost never a bad time to use this skill. Lux's ultimate, Final Spark, is a quick burst of damage. In Wild Rift, the ability is global, meaning you can aim it and snipe at enemies from anywhere on the map. With such a short cooldown, Lux is always great at helping her teammates no matter where she is, and of course, securing kills for her team. This ultimate isn't super easy to land on your own, but when you pair it with your Q, you easily have enough time to secure the damage. If you see your teammate fight someone, wait until they land their CC in order to make sure that you come in with the assist. Or if we're being honest, the kill steal. With how frequently it's up, Final Spark is an excellent tool to clear waves from anywhere. This way, you can easily stay with your team and worry less about managing waves perfectly. One of the only non-damaging ults in the game is Twisted Fates. Once he's level 5 on the enemy team, you'll need to be careful every time he's missing from lane. He can see every champion on the map with True Sight, and then he teleports anywhere within a large radius around him. While this ability isn't the easiest to use effectively, the versatility is just so high. TF can teleport back to lane if he ever gets forced into a bad recall, or if he's split pushing, he can easily teleport to his team as soon as the fight starts. In the laning phase, he can appear behind you and gank you, acting essentially like a second jungler. This high versatility lasts during the entire game, and your ability to change the outcome of fights means that you're a massive factor in how games are played out. TF is a champion who excels at working with his team and making sure a fight is never fair. The last, but certainly not least ultimate we'll talk about is Jarvan IV. His Cataclysm targets one champion, jumping onto them and trapping them in an arena made of earth. Even though you're only picking one champion, anyone who's in the ult can't leave unless they have a dash ability, or if they flash. This ult is great for clumping up enemies and keeping them in an area. This means that any area damage thrown here will always hit a bunch of enemies. On the flip side, you can also trap your own teammates with you. This can be a good or a bad thing, depending on who they are. And of course, if you ever want to remove the arena, you can always press the ability again.
Well, those are the 10 strongest ultimates in Wild Rift at this time. We're excited to see what other champions join the battle and what their abilities will bring. League of Legends has some crazy ultimates, so stay tuned. As always, thank you so much for watching. We're working really hard to bring you as much useful content as possible before the game is released everywhere. If you're enjoying learning about Wild Rift, feel free to subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date. Thanks again, and best of luck on the Rift. Cut!